Thanks for joining me, patrons, and all of my YouTube subscribers. I'm in my new studio, not quite done, waiting for electricity and a roof, but we're going to give the filming a go anyhow because of the Irish weather. So today's practice is a practice for the spine, particularly the right and left sides of the spine. If you want to know where your oblique muscles are, both internal and external, you're going to find those. This is a great practice if you have scoliosis or if you know somebody that does. It's also great practice if you have in somatic yoga what we refer to as the trauma reflex, which is when one side of the body is shorter than the other. You might see it as one hip being higher than the other, so a tilt in the pelvis, or sometimes you see it in your shoulders, one shoulder is higher or lower than the other. So that's the trauma reflex. Either way, it's a very simple practice and I hope you enjoy it. If you do prefer to have a pillow under your head when you're lying on your side body, then grab the pillow because that's where we're going to be headed. We'll be coming down to our left side first. When you get down there, feel free to put that pillow in there, or I like to use my arm as a pillow. You can stack your knees together. Just make some movements first. Wiggle your hips or take them in circles. You can circle your top shoulder. Maybe move your neck. So we want to land and locate and let the left side body just sink into the ground. And then take a moment, close your eyes if you can. And just feel into that left side where it is touching the ground. Maybe you feel your hip, your armpit area. But sense the space between the hip and the armpit, your ribs. Notice if your breathing is creating any movement, any sense of compression or resistance or lifting away from or into the floor. So can you feel your rib cage like a relationship with the floor? Any movement. And if not, think about breathing a little bit more into the center of your body. I like to call it your juicy center. So the whole circumference of the rib cage. Feel your ribs expand as you breathe in. And gently release and compress back towards the center of the spine as you breathe out. And then take that awareness back into the left side of the body. Now check again. Do you feel like as you're breathing in, you can sense the way the ribs are gently pushing into the ground? And as you breathe out, the ribs will fall back into the ground. And then we're going to switch our awareness from the left side to the right. So you may even want to place your hand on your right rib cage. We'll go into right lung breathing. So now we use that hand because we don't have the floor there. But see if you can sense that your right side of your body is slightly lifting up as you breathe in, away from the ground, and releasing down towards the side of the spine as you breathe out. So we're using our breath first to connect to the movement, but we'll continue to use the breath into the movement. So this is very much a breath-centered movement. Keeping that right hand on your ribs. Next time you take a breath in, see if you can lift your right ribs up towards the sky. So in lifting the right ribs, you'll also be lifting the left side body off the ground. So if we were just feeling a little bit of a lift, now physically the left side body's lifting up. And then breathe out and let the left side land, let the right side relax. So if you can visualize your right lung, your bigger lung, breathe into it. Imagine it floating up like a balloon. And it floats up so much that it actually lifts the left side off the ground. And then breathe out and let it go. Just doing a couple of these. So lifting, or what we're doing is making a lateral bend in the spine by breathing into the right lung and lifting and spreading the right ribs. So what you'll notice is the right lung lifts, ribs spread, the left side contracts or shortens. And then we breathe out, we just come back to that space where we can relax. Taking a few more of these, initiating from the right side, the right lung, the right ribs.
Feel the ribs spread as you breathe in and gently come back together as you breathe out. Let's add a little bit to this. So as you're breathing in, if you'd like to, you can reach that right hand overhead and get a little more stretch through the right side. But remember, we're not just stretching, we're lifting. And then breathe out and take the arm down. Inhale, right side rises up. As you breathe into your right lung, you can reach the right arm overhead. Feel how the left side contracts. Exhale, let it land. If you want to add a little bit more for this, for your hip, so think of creating space between the hip and the armpit on the right side. As you breathe in, extend the right leg and the right arm. So think of spreading your arm and your leg apart, lifting the rib cage. Breathe out and just let it land wherever it wants to. Take nice, slow, full breaths. You might even pause at the top of the inhale and notice the length through the right side, that little lateral bend. So your spine is bending to the left. The left side is compressed. And then breathe out and relax. Take a few more, moving from this right side. I also like to take my right leg a little bit towards the back to get a nice stretch through the front of the thigh as well as the hip, so you could do that. Maybe you want to pause and hold for a few breaths. And you can really feel how the left waist is lifting and shorter, and the right waist is long. Take a few breaths into that long right waist. Breathe out and release. While we're on the side, we're going to do the same movement, but we're going to switch it around so the focus will be on lifting from the left side. So take a moment to bring yourself back into the left side again. And this time the movement will be done on an exhalation. So we want to think of shortening or contracting the left side body muscles. So take your next inhale. Sense the way the left lung and ribs press into the ground. And as you breathe out, lift the left lung and ribs away from the ground and imagine shortening the space from the armpit to the hip in the left side. And of course, the right side will still rise, but not because we're filling or stretching the right side, but because we're contracting the left side. It's just a slightly different feel. Breathe in now, breathe in and release it. Breathe out. Shorten that left side, lift it away from the ground. Breathe in, let it come down. Breathe out and shorten. And breathe in and release. So it should be a similar movement, but we're controlling it from the left waist shortening. And just notice for yourself if it was easier to lengthen through the right to lift the left, or was it easier to actually lift the left? Sometimes we can tell this way which side of our body is the shorter one if we have that trauma reflex. So typically with the shorter side, it's going to be more than willing to lift off the ground by contraction. Just take a few more, exhaling and lifting, and come back down. So we're going to switch sides. You can pause for a moment on your side, flip over however it feels best for you onto your right side.
Fairly simple work today. Or let's not think of it as work, let's think of it as play. So bring your pillow with if you're using your pillow, or feel free to use your arm, stack your knees. Maybe again, just especially if you were laying on it, just roll that left shoulder around and left hip. Any enjoyable movements, just let it all release and feel like your right side is lengthening and releasing into the ground. So we want to land and locate now into our right side. What parts of your right side are touching the ground? The outer thigh, the hip. What parts of the waist, the armpit,
the arm itself. And then coming back into your breath first. How does it feel to breathe into the circumference of your ribs, so right into the solar plexus? It's our Manipura chakra and the chakras. And that's where we find our, I like to say our light, but it's our fire. And breathe in a way that you can feel your rib cage slightly press into the ground, like it's going towards the ground as you breathe in. And it's just slightly lifting away, or really just releasing into the ground as you breathe out. And switch your awareness into your left side body and lung. You could place your hand there as a feeler. And see what kind of action you're feeling in the left lung and side body. Can you sense the way it's kind of lifting like a balloon as you breathe in, and releasing back down towards the spine as you breathe out? You can even picture that left side of the spine, the muscles on the left side of the spine. And we'll begin to make that spinal movement, that side bend. So breathing enough into the left lung that as you breathe in, lift the left rib cage up towards the sky, and notice how the right ribs lift away from the floor. Breathe out and come back down. So imagine a buoyancy to your breath, lifting you up, spreading that left side body, and breathing out, just letting it come back to its space of grace where it likes to hang out and relax. Moving from the left side, notice how the right side is contracting or shortening. It's responding. So you can feel that curve in the spine. It's as if your right hip and right shoulder press a little bit more into the ground at the top of the inhale, and the center of the spine is lifting on that right side. Just sensing that little lateral bend in the spine. Adding the arm, you can reach overhead on the inhale. Create a little more space. Remembering, though, that it's not just an overhead stretch. We want to initiate from the breath. Let the ribs lift, that buoyancy comes in, and then reach and just make a little more space. Adding the leg in. You can reach the leg and the arm, so lift and then reach. Expand through the whole left side body. Notice how the right side is compressed or contracted. And exhale, let it go. Take your time. As much as you can, feel the movement of the ribs, the muscles between the ribs, those intercostal muscles. All the muscles in the sideways lifting you up and releasing you down. At the end there, if you want to take a hold with the arm and leg extended, notice how the right waist is lifting in the middle. See if you can direct your awareness and your physical breath into the left lung, your little lung that has to make space for your heart. Gratefully. As you're doing this, you might sense that one side is a little less willing to stretch or to shorten. So do you feel shorter in this left side than you did in your right side? And release that. Come back down. We'll switch the awareness down into the right side body. Just feel where it's resting on the floor. We always use the floor to land and locate, to feel ourselves. Redirect the breath into the right lung. And as you're breathing out, lift the right lung or the ribs away from the ground. Notice how it'll feel like the waist and the armpit are coming towards one another, and your right ribs will lift, and so will the left. But think of exhaling, and it's like you're squeezing the breath out of that right lung like an accordion and lifting up. And breathing out and releasing down. So we're taking that same lateral bend, but this time we're doing it by contracting the lower waist muscles as opposed to expanding the upper waist muscles. And we just want to make sure we have that control to move from expansion and to move from contraction in both sides. Lift as high as you like, that's comfortable. Sometimes I'll lift up, this is my weaker side, so I'll lift up that right side and I'll hold it for a few breaths, and I can even touch and feel those muscles on the right side body. We start to get into the oblique muscles. You might feel the front of your belly a little bit where the obliques wrap around. And let it all go. And pause for a moment. We're going to do one more lateral side bend movement. This time we're going on to our front side. So rolling over. Find your way onto your abdomen. You can rest on your chin or your forehead, whatever feels best for you. Take your arms to your sides in kind of a cactus position or goalposts. You can shake out your legs and shift your hips side to side so that you can feel the thighs rolling and the lower body's relaxed. And here's another opportunity to land and locate. Notice what parts of your body are touching the ground. And particularly notice from the space at the abdomen to the solar plexus and through the chest. And can you sense movement in the front body? As you breathe in, that same sense of compression in the front body into the ground. Like the front body meets the ground. It's not a fierce meeting, it's just a sensation of a little bit of resistance. And the breath out, you just let the weight of your spine fall back into the ground. Get ready to move on this one. So as you breathe in, notice that buoyancy. And as your chest presses into the ground, just lift ever so slightly, keeping the gaze down to the ground. So not a neck lift, but a chest lift. You can keep your neck in a neutral position. And then breathe out and come back down. So just do that a few times, feeling that inhalation float you up. So we're at center. Notice the muscles on both sides of the back equally lifting you, or hopefully they are. Breathing out, we release. If you find you're trying to lift your head, keep the crown of the head facing forward, gaze down, and try to lift from the chest and the ribs, even your collarbones. Coming down, releasing all those back body muscles. We're going to add the next movement. So as you breathe in, lift up and think of directing your breath a little bit more into the left side if you can, or even just imagining it, right, energetically. And come up and look towards your right. So you're going to do a back bend lifting up, but simultaneously side bend to the right. And use your arms however you need to support you. And then as you breathe out, come back down to the center. We're going to alternate sides with this one, and sometimes that's a good way to tell if you do have any sort of imbalance. Inhale, lift up. And now fill that right lung and bend a little bit to the left, like you want to look at your left elbow. So you feel the left side shorten, the right side lengthen. Exhale, flow back to center, come down. If it's more comfortable for you to rest on one cheek when you come down, you're welcome to do that. But inhale, float forward and up. Feel the left lung, take it over. Exhale, center down. Inhale, lift up. Look to the left, bend to the left. Exhale down. So if you find that this is really easy for you and you don't want to use your arms, you want to use more muscular engagement, just make sure your muscles are relaxing when you come down. I always have to check like the glutes and the low back muscles. You can take your arms to your sides and not use your arms. So we inhale up, side bend, exhale, down, relax. Inhale up and side bend. And exhale. Relax. So you're probably really going to start to feel it in the two sides of the body. Notice if one side is really responding with more discomfort. Like, are those muscles really engaged and not releasing as you come down? So if that's the case, the side that's not releasing, I would work on lengthening that side. So in my case, my right side stays stuck. So I bend to the left. Feel that left side tighten. But you can play with it and just notice, are the back body muscles responding equally? Are the side body muscles responding equally? And there's still the option of using hands as well for more support. Such a small movement. But think of your spine. We're going into a back bend and a lateral bend. So feel when your one side of your waist shortens, the other lengthens. And noticing how the back body is shortening and the front body is lengthening. But everything releases when you come down. If not, take an extra breath when you're down there. So we're going to finish this one off with a little bit of a hold. So you're going to want to go back to using your arms if you're not. Inhale and lift up. And then you're going to come over to the left first. So make that side bend to the left. You can take your right arm and take it parallel to the front of your mat, so you're using it for more support. You might be able to go a little bit further that way. And just breathe into that right side. So we're in both the back bend, or the extension of the spine, and that little bit of a lateral bend. If this is too high on your forearm, you're welcome to come down. You might even just use your left arm as a pillow. If you want to side bend a little bit further, walk both feet over to the left side of the mat. So you can rest down here, or you might be up on your arm. But just take time to notice the shortening of the left waist and a lengthening of the right waist. Maybe you want to breathe into your right lung again. So I think of the postures as creating space for the breath. And sometimes, as in this case, it's even the physical breath. You can physically breathe more readily into your right lung. Picture the muscles in your spine. The right side, the muscles are stretching, and the right side of the spine, the left side, they're compressing and contracting. A few more breaths there. And come back down. Come back to your center for just a moment. Maybe notice before we go into the other side how you feel. Sometimes there's even a sense of like being crooked. And then we'll do the other side. So inhale, lift up and begin to bend to the left. You can take your left forearm so it's right underneath you to support you more. If that's too high, then just come down, rest on your arms. So we're making that side bend to the right. So your head, your shoulders are going to the right side of the mat. You can also walk your feet to the right side, either laying down, or so that would be more just the side bend, feeling the space through the left side and the compression through the right, or more of the back bend, resting on your arm. Now there's ample opportunity to breathe into your left lung. You can also imagine your right waist, and as you breathe out,
bring the right armpit and hip towards one another. Shorten that right waist on the exhalation. So make the exhalation functional. And just picturing the shape of the spine. All the muscles on the left side are getting a nice stretch. And the right side is compressing. Coming down into a space of release. It's nice when we're down here, maybe take your feet up towards the sky. Just rock your legs side to side or make some circles. Want to release the low back. And we'll finish this practice on our back. So rolling over. Find your way there. Maybe hug your knees into your chest if you still feel like there's any tension in the low back. Move your legs around. And then the position that feels most restful for you, I'm just going to guide you through some back body breathing with the back muscles relaxed. So land and locate once again. You can start from your toes and work your way up to the head. Sensing what's touching the ground, what's supported. Being present in those spaces. Particularly any parts of the back body. Around your lungs, your ribs, the shoulder blades even. If you want to use your hands in the front to feel all 360 degrees of your rib cage, you can place your hands right in the solar plexus area, right at the bottoms of the ribs. Now see if you can find an equal breath into the left and right lung, all the way around. Visualize the entire circumference of the rib cage. As you breathe in, it's as if the back body, the backs of the ribs are pressing into the ground, meeting that force. The side bodies are coming out towards the edges of the mat. And the upper or top ribs, front ribs are coming into your hands if you're using your hands. That full body expansion we feel as we breathe in. Just letting the circumference of your torso release towards the entire spine in all 360 degrees as you breathe out. Take a few more rounds of breath on your own. Just experiencing the movement that you create in the sides of the spine, in the back body, and in the front body now. Just by breathing into the solar plexus. Please stay in this position of relaxation as long as you'd like. If you're ready to come out, you may want to reach one or both hands, kind of pedal your legs so you're making those same little lateral bends. You can push through one foot and the other, whichever foot you're pushing through on that same side, reach your hand. Just playfully lengthening one side while the other shortens. How does that feel now? You have more awareness of the sides of the body, the sides of your spine. And rolling to one side to finish off your practice. Thank you for joining me in my new space. We'll get there with lights and all the rest, but I just wanted to introduce you because I'm really excited, and I hope some of you get to come on retreat with me someday here in this beautiful spot in Ballydehob, Ireland. Thank you again for your support and for subscribing and for your donations. Peace, joy, love, and light.